Welcome, everybody. I want to say it's good to be here with all of you, even though virtually. I'm so happy you can see me and hear me, even though I'm unable to see you, all of you, which is how we have been communicating in our San Diego center, the devotional meetings now for the last 8 months. Before I begin, first, let's take a moment for some prayer, if you wish, for the Wing family, for Patricia Wing, who is now with Swami, and to bring lots of love, joy and comfort and peace to Eric and his sister Beth. Thank you, Swami. Om Jai Sai Ram. The Vedic chanting and the bhajans were really wonderful tonight. Thank you for that, Greg, and thank you, bhajan leaders and the Vedam group. I certainly miss leading in-person bhajans in our center, as the leading of the bhajans, inspiring devotees to repeat and chant the many holy names of our Lord, has been an important part of my spiritual sadhana for many years with Swami, opening the heart, our hearts opening into Swami's one eternal Atmic heart. It is really so inspiring tonight that I feel that Swami has selected our topic from my heart for me to speak on with you, who we are. To start with, by asking, who are we? And with that answer, then having faith in who we are. Swami encourages us to first ask, who am I? And then who are we and who we are, leading to who we really are. Baba tells us, of course, there are 3 aspects you may know. Who we think we are, the body, who others think we are, the mind, and then who we really are, Atman. We are responsible for all 3 aspects, and with his grace, we can know the truth of our being. For me, it has been a long process since being attached to the body through many lifetimes. It takes a lot of faith and steadiness in this lifetime to realize the truth of our being. But we have Swami, the Lord of the universe, who was incarnated with us in human form in this triple avatarhood. It's truly amazing. So I want to share with you many of my experiences and feelings about Swami, as well as his teachings. In this way, the question who we are will become quite evident. I will be sharing a few of my experiences from Swami's darshans and group interviews with Swami from my trips to India, mostly from the first trip in 1976 to be near Baba. And also my experiences while attending our San Diego Sathya Sai Baba Center and our regional activities here in Region 8. And what these experiences have meant in my transformation. And I hope you will be able, by my sharing, to apply perhaps some of my lessons or my lessons and wisdom learned to your own experiences and your own transformation. Your transformation of the heart at the same time. And perhaps enjoy these experiences as I have enjoyed them. I mentioned a moment ago that I really miss leading the bhajans at our center. And so I often talk with and sing with Baba and spontaneously start singing bhajans throughout the day during these unusual times, during this quarantining time. Also, it is wonderful singing the bhajans while attending our online virtual Sai Center devotional meetings each week, each Thursday evening. Swami began to open my heart in the summer of 1975, when just before reading Dr. Sandweiss's book, Sai Baba, the Holy Man and the Psychiatrist, I had listened to Richard Bach's 33 1/3 RPM long playing album. RPM means rounds per minute for those of you who've never heard of 33 1/3 records. And of Swami leading the bhajans, the loving bhajans on one side and chanting the Lord's name himself, and his Advent speech on the other side. And with what I had read in Sam's book and seeing there and every picture in the book, everyone in my family in Swami's face, and everyone that I ever knew, and every photo of Swami, I knew then that I had to search and investigate further. And so I took my first trip to India in May of 1976, after attending our San Diego Point Loma Center for 5 months, where I had begun to lead a bhajan occasionally. They were all new to me, and had started disciplined meditation. It was like being with family at this center. In Sam and Sharon Sandweiss's home, and every time I went to the center, there was such an experience of joy and happiness, and the devotees were wonderful. This was certainly Swami's love being expressed, which I was soon to become much more aware of. So this 1976 trip was the first of 6 trips to India. The 12 of us went from our San Diego area, our center, to Mumbai, to Bombay. And it was timed to be there when Swami arrived to Dharmakshetra. So we were with him for about 5 days, and the devotees there at Dharmakshetra. That's Swami's abode while in Mumbai. And his abode there at Dharmakshetra was a beautiful, tall, lotus-shaped building with a beautiful building with the lotus leaves at the top and a balcony around. And my first darshan of Swami was at 6:30, the day after we arrived, 6:30 in the morning, or 6 at daybreak. There is Swami in the distance. We saw the crowd under the tent where we had been waiting for his darshan, starting to move over to the side of the tent to get a view. So I ran around, leaning over people just to see Swami's form, which I can never forget. You never forget that first darshan. It was just heart-filling and wonderful. So the second day under the tent at Dharmakshetra, while trying to sing along with the bhajans, while sitting cross-legged behind Baba and kind of at the edge of the dais, I could see his back. Where Swami was seated, he was facing the devotees, facing outward. I experienced during the bhajans that Swami's face was also turned toward me. At the same time, he was facing outward. Well, that was really astounding to me. It was turned my way, and it was kind of in a different energy, almost a shimmering, you might say a vision. And he was letting me know. At the same time, I was seeing his face with the beautiful eyes inwardly in my heart and head, that everything was okay, that I didn't need to pretend or worry about not knowing the bhajans, being a new devotee, not knowing the Sanskrit words or the music. So, or even the tunes. So I was gradually learning what bhajans were, and that it would all come from the heart in time, he was letting me know with practice, all of that. So that was quite a relief and a wonderful experience. So I relaxed more there under the tent with Swami. I learned from that experience that Swami was evidently around me. and somehow knew all my feelings and thoughts. It was quite extraordinary. So indeed, over the years, I kept singing and learning new bhajans and really getting into chanting the bhajans. Of course, this leads up to the present time and wanting to help develop live bhajans virtually at our center during these times, during our devotional meetings on Thursday evenings. So indeed, I do miss the live group singing of the bhajans. Now, there was another very unusual experience I want to share, an experience that happened on the third day under the tent there at Dharmakshetra. There I was in a new country, India, and around a holy man named Sai Baba, Sathya Sai Baba. I had come to observe him, and that was my intention. I just wanted to sort of check this out, all that I had read in Dr. Sandweiss's book. So check out this holy man. And it began to appear and to seem like he was really checking me out, as it turned out, certainly by giving me unusual experiences. Each day, we Westerners were seated right in front near the dais, and Swami would come out each morning that week. And Swami blessed everyone every morning. And that day, he blessed everyone and turned and walked down the steps and came toward me, toward Peter and myself. Peter was in our group of the 12 of us. He was in a wheelchair beside me. And as Baba was coming toward us, he changed. He changed his form. His form was no longer Swami. He changed his form into a long black-haired man in kind of a robe, intently walking along. And there were other men, maybe 3 or 4 more people kind of walking behind him. These gentlemen were dressed the same, maybe in their dress of the day, in kind of long robes. And the same as this person that Swami had turned into, as what he was wearing. So they were following him, kind of spaced apart. And after he walked past and changed back to Swami, it wasn't that long as Swami's walking by. I nudged Peter and asked, Peter, did you see that? Thinking everybody must have seen it. And Peter said, no. What do you mean? I didn't see anything unusual. So what was that Swami appeared to have changed into? Did that really happen? You don't forget something like that. So over the years, I've asked devotees, as I've shared that story, I've asked people who that might have been. Any idea? From my description of a person, maybe looked about 5'6", long dark hair, dressed in kind of a long knee-length robe with some followers. So that experience taught me, and I certainly realized something quite deeply spiritually. It has led to so much knowledge over the years of Swami and his great and subtle and simple power. I felt like a little boy sitting on the ground alongside of the road watching this person walk past me. There was a kind of an antique look to it all. As you know, I don't know if you've ever seen the antique pictures where it's a kind of brownish, and they used to antique old photographs. It had that look like it was from long ago. The whole vision looked that way, with kind of a brownish color to the robes and the person. And at the same time, it seemed absolutely natural that Baba would do this. It wasn't emotionally astounding to me. Really amazing in retrospect. So these experiences, that first week at Dharmakshetra, being with the Indian devotees, seeing the children's classrooms there at Dharmakshetra and the trade school behind the tent, began to open my heart with devotion to Swami, which has led to more spiritual knowledge through the years. The experiences that week were not without discipline and meditation prior to my trip, for those 5 months that I had already attended the center. Oh, I should tell you, on the first day when Swami came, and we were, us Westerners, the 12 of us were in front, and I was seated in the front row with my letters from people here in San Diego. Some of the devotees from the center, and my youngest son, Christian, had written a letter in his little handwriting. And Swami came and reached for those letters, and I looked at him, and my eyes went right up to his third eye. And it was like being attracted to the fire in the third eye, a fire of magnetism. And that began some kind of churning with me also that became more and more evident, of course, through the years in my spiritual sadhana. But that was, I'll never forget that look also of seeing Swami's face and my eyes moving upward to his third eye. And then another important experience for me happened on the last day, the 5th day under the tent with Swami, with our group. Swami gave a discourse. He was giving a discourse with Dr. Bhagavantam translating. And I estimated perhaps 4,000 to 5,000 devotees there by the 5th day. More and more people came every day because of the discourse finally on the last day was the largest crowd. I think it was a Friday, as I remember. At the end of the discourse, Swami finished. He turned and left the microphone and turned to sit down. And everyone started standing up. I stood up and turned toward the back of the tent and noticed the lovely banner hanging at the back of the tent saying, "There is only one religion, the religion of love. There's only one language, the language of the heart, and there's only one God, and he is omnipresent." My heart was filled with joy upon reading that. I thought, how beautiful on that banner. And Swami had turned around, came back to the microphone. Everyone started sitting back down, and Swami looked right way out in the audience. It was a third of the way through the crowd or half. And looking at me, he repeated the saying and it went into my heart. And of course, I could never forget it when talking with about him to anyone, with anyone. And even in that setting of being way out in the audience, this was certainly the early stage of the knowledge that there is no difference between Swami and ourselves, between Swami and myself, certainly, and no difference. It was the Advaitic feeling of oneness, really taking root on this first trip to India. So the 12 of us followed Swami to Vrindavan that weekend, and Baba gave us a wonderful group interview in the front room of his house there. We were called in. We sat waiting around kind of in a rectangle around that rectangle room, if any of you remember the old room of the old house there before everything changed. He walked in, having come down the steps from his room and through the curtain from his room upstairs, and stood quietly for a moment, just looking at all of us. He looked at all of us seated on the floor, and then he came up to Eleanor Salan and created vibhuti for her. She was not feeling well. I think he even mentioned that, not feeling well, and created vibhuti. He sat down then, and we sang bhajans with Swami after he called in an Indian man and his son. And he served food then to each one of us, with one of the students carrying the bowl of food, coming around to each one of the 12 of us, and the man and his son in the room. I think it was ladus. I'm not sure of the name of all the Indian foods, but it was wonderful. And later, after sitting quietly for some time with Swami for a while, I think he had gone back into the kitchen area, and he was no longer in the room. It was time for us to leave. Sadly, it was time to leave after several hours of being with him. And we had to head back to the hotel for the night. So the 12 of us began to exit out of the double doors near Swami's curtained stairway that went up to his room up above. I was the last one to leave the front room, enthralled with the beautiful framed photos high up on the wall around the room. I slowly came to the door to leave, and I noticed and heard a slight noise behind me. And to the side, saw Baba swish through the curtain to the stairway leading up to his room, and part of his foot disappeared as the curtain flapped shut. I was very surprised. He had been behind me the whole time, and that I was walking toward the door. And I didn't even know it till the very last second as I was leaving. Is Swami behind us all the time? Yes. This experience launched me into looking within, looking and imagining as if I'm looking behind myself. Then from then on, looking backwards out of the back of my head and always seeing Swami there, right there all around me, but certainly behind me. So I still cannot believe that I did not know that Baba was behind me at the Vrindavan house in Whitefield. Wonderful, wonderful little experience. And then on to Ootacamund, 1976, to the first Indian boys and girls summer school at Ooty. The first summer school in Ooty was 1976. So the book Summer Roses on the Blue Mountain is the book from Swami's discourse, having Swami's discourses from that summer school in Ooty. It was a wonderful experience. I was there 3 weeks at the summer school, hearing Swami give a daily discourse to the students, seated a few feet away from him in this small hall. There were about 200 students there. We were fortunate upon arriving in Ooty just before the students were to arrive. So as the devotees were still getting ready for the summer school. So maybe there were 30 or 40 devotees of Swami there who were lucky enough to be few in number with the Lord, receiving his darshan every morning and afternoon outside for a few days. Swami would give darshan walking around and among us, the 30 or 40 people, and he would stand behind us sometimes. We were all spaced out, seated on the grass in front of this old tea plantation building where the school was being held for the first time. And Swami had the 12 of us in for an interview one of those days that weekend. And on the way in for that interview, as I was helping Peter in his wheelchair, I had to ask some devotees to move and tapped on their shoulders in order to let the wheelchair pass and roll off of the lumpy grass and onto the road. Instead of going another way around the devotees, I went the shortest route, going towards Swami, and bothered people and asked people to move away. And as I came to Swami, standing, waiting at the door, he very strongly and sternly reprimanded me with only a look with his eyes and face that I'll never forget. Because it not only was related to perhaps bothering the devotees who were having darshan of Swami, it went deeper into my life. And since then, with Swami showing me my impurities still in the heart, this look began to take a deeper turning inward, and of starting to find and remove deeper enemies, surrendering all to Swami. So at the time, I wasn't thankful for that look. I didn't understand it necessarily, but have come to really appreciate any reprimand from Swami. So it was a process. This process is still going on in my surrendering of everything in the transformation path of going toward a pure heart with this ongoing, steady transformation that we are all in. I'm finding there is only Swami after surrendering, more and more. This, of course, is leading to more Atmic knowledge and wisdom. And on another day, Swami served us food at the school, called us in as the students were arriving. And some of the students were helping decorate the hall and getting it ready for the talks. And another extraordinary experience for me, when he served us food, Swami stood in front of me for quite some time. As I was seated on the floor eating the served food, this experience has been very important in my meditation over the years. With, again, experiencing Swami being always with me. And I still wonder what all he worked with in my energies while standing there while I'm eating. Certainly, that has been my spiritual food and has been a source of my deep contemplation and meditation. Sometimes receiving answers to questions, and just really appreciate that experience of Swami standing in front of me for a long time while I was eating the food that he had served. The students had helped serve it. And I thought afterwards, oh, I didn't even touch Swami's feet. I had that chance. But that's the way things go with the mind, right? So the summer school began, and with Swami's first address at the school, my spiritual journey intensified. In his opening remarks, he talked about getting rid of anger, and you can read in Summer Roses on Blue Mountains, his discourses and his opening remarks. He talked about getting rid of anger and its relations, all the enemies that are related to anger, the pride, greed, lust, and the fears that come that tend to run the mind, and that we tend to get absorbed into our life habits. So without intensely looking and finding those and removing them, without doing that, how could we ever understand our spiritual background, he tells us, and bring out spiritual qualities to the world. This was part of his first discourse. It was an important discourse for me to hear that. So I stayed 3 weeks at the school and hearing Swami discourse every day. I returned to San Diego without a job. I thought maybe I was going to be a favorite of Swami's, to stay in India for years at his feet. So I had quit my job at the Art Mart where I was working at the time after my fellowship at UCSD as an actor in the music department expired. I had a really good job at Aaron Brothers Art Mart, and then I had quit that and thought I was going to stay in India maybe. And so when I came back, I started praying to Swami that I needed work. What should I be doing? I wanted to do some kind of service work. And so Carol Winters, who was one of our group, the 12 of us, is a strong devotee of Swami and still attends occasionally attends our Thursday devotional virtual meetings. And she's a licensed counselor and therapist. And she was instrumental in helping me get a job, which I felt was Swami working through her. It was a teaching job after I returned from India. And I told her that I had been intensely praying to Swami about this. So she gave me 5 or 6 leads in our discussion. And then as we were saying goodbye, she added one more lead. We almost hung up. And it was the lead for a job in an older adult program with the San Diego Community College District and as an instructor. So I called that last lead that she gave first, and that was the job after an interview that I landed. It was a great service type job with communications classes and music and singing with the elderly and a number of Alzheimer's patients. Alzheimer's patients love music, and I was familiar with all the old tunes that they knew. So it was a wonderful service type work. Growing up, I had known, which helped me in that work, I had known all of my great-grandparents, except they were all living when I was born, and I think several of the 8 great-grandparents had passed away in our Mennonite community. And by the time I got to know them, I knew 3 of my great-grandparents very well. My father's mother's father, Jacob Mishler, told me about seeing Abraham Lincoln when he was a little boy, that when Abe was on the way from Illinois to Washington, D.C., traveling on the train through northern Indiana, his father had held him up when he was just 6 or 7 years old, I guess, to see Lincoln. And he told me about that. What a wonderful memory. And then to hear Swami talk about Abe Lincoln and Abe's mother and the importance of mothers in our lives has been a joy with that memory. So I started teaching in the older adult program with older adults on my birthday in 1977. My first class was on a locked unit, 2 hours, 3 days a week in one of the most chronically ill wards in all of San Diego. People there from accidents who had severe brain injuries, different life problems and brain injuries, really of young and old people were on that ward. And I would pray intently to Swami every day before I went into that class to help me bring joy and loving attention to the people. And it became a job that I slowly enjoyed more and more and more. I even worked with physical fitness and chair fitness classes. I prayed with several dying patients that had no family at times. There were several that I sat with for a period of time. So Swami had me do that. So music enrichment, Alzheimer's classes, also at the Glenner Alzheimer's Center was part of my work, a lot with Alzheimer's patients. And it was a year later that I studied Hatha Yoga with Indra Devi. She had been in India with Swami and also taught modified yoga principles to some of the elderly students in assisted living centers, along with physical fitness and chair Feldenkrais awareness through movement work, which I've been studying this summer again, and hope to do more of that with people at some point. This all led to studying more Hatha Yoga with Indra Devi. It was her last teacher's course in the summer of 1978. So many stories of Swami from Indra Devi, and stories of his miracles that happened in and around the classes over the years. She was always happy, very happy in union with Swami, in union with God. Swami tells us happiness is union with God and to be happy. So the satsang, an association with many loving souls over the years, at our Sri Sathya Sai Baba Center in San Diego has been so important to me. And for the devotees, and still today we have so many devotees, embodiments of Swami, that attend our devotional meeting online every week during the quarantine for the past 33 weeks. And our county Sai Baba centers are all working together also in the planning of the Narayana Seva that help plan and serve the feeding of the people still outside in downtown San Diego. And in the fire area, in the Hamul Duzura area where the Valley Fire was. And in the Stand Up for Kids Center in downtown San Diego. All this are Seva coordinators with our 3 San Diego County centers are busy planning every week. This past Saturday, we had a big shipment from the grocery outlet of the first food, the dry foods, the rice and the beans and the canned goods, as well as water and some clothing has been going to the Hamul school, the Hamul Duzura school, where Margot there is helping with distribution. So they are doing the distribution, and our centers have been supplying a lot of the needs. We also serve food to the Stand Up for Kids Center in downtown San Diego. And our San Diego Point Loma Center started the downtown feeding project of the poor and the homeless many years ago in the downtown area with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and hot food now more in recent years, and water and fruit and pastry. We serve up to usually, we were serving up usually to 200 people every Sunday noon. Of course, that has changed with quarantining, but we are still doing that on Sunday noons and with masks, and the team that goes downtown wear masks and set out the food so the people can come up and take a bag of food. The bags are prepared with hot food, different sandwiches, and pastry and water and fruit. So this Seva is being planned by our 3 San Diego County centers and helping with the Valley Fire. And there are homeless people on an ongoing basis, I realized in this past week, also in the Hamul Duzura area, besides the fire victims. So there is a lot of service to be done there. There are many children also in that area who are involved with being homeless and are now homeless from the fire. Margot said there were about 100 children. And with the need for clothing and food and personal items and personal hygiene items, we officers are meeting weekly and with terrific regional support. It's amazing. The whole region really is involved, actually, when you talk about the region. So this has been a wonderful seva and planning each week. From our 3 county Sai Baba centers of Radha Narayan and Lata Sundar and Sridhar Kolar and myself, Agnes Hughes and Donna Kaile and Surya and Sachi are leading the way with Ramesh Amatya, our San Diego service coordinator, chairing our Tuesday meetings and planning the Narayana Seva. So, dear ones, I'm beginning to understand this fundamental I that we are, who we really are. Usually, and as I have been speaking here and continue to use the word I, and now after some steady 44 years with attending our San Diego Point Loma Center, being part of this wonderful Sri Sathya Sai Baba organization, I see that this I is something eternal and only seems to be referring to the body. But body is an instrument, Swami tells us, and not to be attached to it. We can actually experience Swami by how we use this instrument. So we move from the I to we. Swami has shown me through these experiences that I have been sharing with you, particularly from my first trip to India, that he is the driver of the body instrument, the indweller, the one who knows the road and who gives the body life. Man in his ego thinks he's doing it all, but it's not true. I've learned that it's Swami, and from these experiences and activities, the intelligence. Swami is the Atma, the Paramatma, and he shows us and has shown me and us that Atma is who we really are. Who we really are. Not who we think we are or who others think we are, which is also important and which we are responsible for. We're responsible for all three aspects. Swami says, we are born to know this eternal truth. Swami tells us we should not be so attached throughout life to this body, this physical body. The Lord tells us, give up body attachment and get attached to what is eternal and permanent. This true self is our natural nature. Oh, I didn't tell you that I found out who Swami had transformed himself into. Did I? No. This past January, I believe it was, I was looking at a painting online of Jesus teaching on the hillside, and my heart jumped. There was the look. It was Lord Jesus that Swami had transformed himself into. In May of 1976, I think it was the third day of being at Dharmakshetra under the tent. My background, of course, is Christian, and Swami knew that and was letting me know that perhaps as a little boy I was beside the road watching Jesus walk by. My heart is filled with so much love right now for Swami and Lord Jesus, as Lord Jesus doing that transformation of himself in front of me. What an experience. Thank you, Swami. So I'm wondering if I have a little more time, Greg. Or shall I?
You could do another 5 minutes if you like.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. What a wonderful opportunity to be sharing these things. So how do we get more attached to what is eternal and permanent? It was and is by steady practice, steadily attending and singing the bhajans. Like for me at our San Diego Point Loma Center, all our centers, or wherever I am. I've attended the bhajans in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because my family is there. And attending functions in the Sai Organization. Traveling to see Swami in India 6 trips. Having the Lord's darshan. Swami has said, do not underestimate my darshan of you seeing me. I'll never forget one darshan. I saw him fairly close up coming by from the side view. And all of a sudden, it seemed like I was looking at myself. Actually, he was physically looking how I picture myself, maybe having seen that in the mirror. That was amazing also. So traveling to see him and experiencing his touch. One time he touched my little finger on my left hand, taking a note from me, coming clear back, 5 or 6 rows back into the crowd seated on the sand, knowing that I had this note for him. It was in 1988, my last day at the ashram. I didn't even know necessarily that Swami knew I was there after 3 weeks, sitting daily on the sand to see him. And suddenly he's coming toward me through the crowd to take this note of love to him and asking his permission to leave and go back home. And Swami made it appear as an accident that he touched me, which I still feel a lot of the time, like right now, his energy kind of surging through my body from that little touch. How can it be? While taking the note. He's so playful and wonderful at it, made it seem like an accident. So we get more attached to Baba as we detach from the body and mind. We become attached to the eternal, the Atma, who is always there waiting. We get attached to the omnipresent Swami with steadiness, a kind of discipline, with our satsang, our associations with others, like-minded devotees. After we've given up bad company, in the heart, bad company, they're also, as Swami tells us to do, all of this is so important, it has been for me. Jack Islip, who attended our center at times, told us, it's very easy to remember Swami, to get attached to him. As you are going through the day remembering Swami's name with Namasmarana, and whenever starting an activity or a task, dedicate that task to him first, and then fully concentrate on the task. And in that concentration, Swami is there with you. So you are still with Swami. Swami will be present there, present while you're doing with concentration your duty, your activity. Then when you're finished with that, continue and keep remembering his name. There were many wonderful people that knew and loved Swami that came to our center. In fact, in closing here, I want to mention a few of those people. Art Clokey, I don't know if you have ever heard of him. Art Clokey came to our center. It might have been the late 80s or early 90s. He was the creator of Gumby and Pokey, the pony, the clay figures that were used. He and his wife, Gloria, developed this and talked about it with us for their television series for children, with these characters showing stories of love and how to live correctly for young people. Very popular at the time in the 70s. And it was great to hear them talk about all of that and the reactions they got from the public with that TV Saturday series of these moving clay characters. It took them days and hours to video it. I think Art passed, I believe, in his sleep 10 years ago in January of 2010. Now with Swami, Sai Ram. There were other devotees telling of the glory of Sai Baba from India. Dr. Gokak came, a wonderful Veena player, well known. She came. Mr. Mystery came with large photos of Swami. There were people from our San Diego community, from other faiths that sometimes would speak or just come to attend bhajans, having heard of Sathya Sai Baba. We even had a devotee, a young fellow from Greenland, of all places, attending our center for a while. Swami's divine love knows no bounds, and his divine will attracted to our center and to our organization, whoever he wanted, to share and chant the many names of his glory. Swami's new organization was beginning to grow and expand because of his divine love. Pat Wing and young Eric and his sister Beth Elizabeth were at our center in those early days, as Patty was instrumental in starting Baba's Children's Balvikas program. So grateful to our center, to the organization for being instrumental in this transformation of the heart. Sing a bhajan with me. Govinda Gopala Prabhu Giridhari, Govinda Gopala Prabhu Giridhari, Govinda Gopala Hridaya Vihari, Govinda Gopala Hridaya Vihari, Govinda Gopala Prabhu Giridhari, Govinda Gopala Prabhu Giridhari Nanda Kumara Navanita Chora Nanda Kumara Navanita Chora Hridaya Vihara Badachita Chora Hridaya Vihara Badachita Chora Hridaya Vihara Badachita Chora Govinda Gopala Prabhu Giridhari. Om Jai Sai Ram.